Hello and welcome back everybody to the Food Build Factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Deathclaw-Hunter. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, the mutations, and everything else you need to know. So let's get right into it. Now what this character is going to be about is we're basically going to play as a run and gun heavy gunner, which is a combination that on first glance, it's not the most prominent combination. There are some pretty popular reasons why you wouldn't want to use heavy weapons outside of power armor. Now, the big reason, the big elephant in the room here is definitely stabilized. Stabilized increases your accuracy as well as your armor penetration heavily while you are in power armor and using heavy guns, and it's basically one of the must-have perks for every heavy gunner build. Now, on this occasion here, it doesn't really matter all that much, for the simple reason that we are using an anti-armor weapon, so it's not going to be all that much of a problem. I mean, we're still missing out on a bit of armor penetration, but in the grand scheme of things, it's definitely manageable. And the other thing is the accuracy boost that we're obviously missing out on here. But for that, I gotta say, the LMG is a fairly accurate heavy weapon, so it's absolutely manageable if you're using it outside of power armor. And another big thing is, as you all probably already can tell from the gameplay you see here, we are quite heavily invested into VATS. Now, that doesn't mean that we're using VATS the whole time here on this character. It's basically, it was my kind of approach to keep the ammo consumption down a little bit. So, the big drawback to the LMG, I mean, for everyone who knows this weapon, it's a beast, it has a very high damage output. The limiting factors for this weapon really only are, in my opinion, uh, first and foremost, the thing we were talking about at the second, which is the ammo consumption. You're chewing through 308 ammo very fast. The second drawback that you could see is the ammo capacity. So this thing here only has 75 rounds in its magazine, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but trust me, since the fire rate is so high, you really burn through that very fast if you're just using the weapon in a run-gun approach, or just going to fire it. So, as I said, what I was trying to do here in order to keep ammo consumption relatively low is basically just minimize the losses when shooting. And I've done that by basically just using VATS and focusing on getting hits in really fast. Now, being a heavy weapon, and that coupled with the fast fire rate, means you are burning through your AP bar very fast with this weapon. It's definitely something, if you just get hands on an LMG and you try it out, on first glance it really isn't a suited weapon for vets. And I totally agree with that. It definitely isn't one of those weapons where you say, oh, you have a great time when using it in vets. You really have to specialize in a way. And what I done here is kind of an approach that I come back every now and then with weapons that just aren't really suited for vets, meaning that in Fallout 76 we kind of, or basically let's say that way, it started in Fallout 4 where we basically grown into that idea of constantly fighting with vets. For me, at least, this wasn't a thing in Fallout 3 in New Vegas. You pretty much never could rely completely on vets. You had to wait out some enemies in the meantime when your AP was refreshing, and that's just something we've, yeah, as I said, grown out of when playing Fallout 4 or Fallout 76, because using the right weapons, talking about commando weaponry, talking about pistols, guerrilla, riflemen's weapons, you can really fight the whole time in vets and basically very rarely run out of AP. It's just not a big problem. Using Grim Reaper Sprint and high agility, you're basically already there. Um, there's very little fights, or very few fights where you actually run out of AP. And that's just something I while testing this build, pretty quickly understood that, yeah, this is not going to be the case here. No matter how far we are pushing our AP bar, we're not getting into that realm where we can just use that thing the whole time in vets. And by the way, even if you have a bloodied build, I tried that. It does work. It does definitely work better. I mean, overall, you have basically, yeah, about twice the amount of AP. So this guy here gives us a little bit of a tough time, by the way, because he's just not going to land, which is always frustrating and basically the main reason why I'm not really bothered with fighting Scorched Beast in my videos most of the time. But as you can see here, once it lands, it goes down very quickly. Just gonna check, by the way, not for legendary probably, but mainly to see maybe there was a rare power armor drop or something, but didn't really seem like it. Anyways, back to the topic. I was talking a whole lot about how much AP this weapon uses, and it's basically not usable in VATS. But yeah, let's get to the point here. What I've done is just basically push my AP refresh as far as I could possibly do. There's still room for improvement. There's firstly, there are some. Yeah, my controller's a bit bugged. Sorry, I just wanted to drink a water actually. Have to do it with two hands. So now we're back fully hydrated. So yeah, there are some consumables you could use, thinking about stuff like corn soup and so on. I'm actually good with the settlers, but I was kind of hoping that they would give us a fight here, but well, doesn't seem like it. And yeah, back to the topic. There would be things like corn soup that could increase your AP refresh. One thing you could certainly do is just use Nuka-Cola Quantums if you have those. But the main thing here we're going to use is firstly some perks. You can probably think of them. We're using Lone Wanderer, we're using Action Boy, and we're trying to be well hydrated all the time. So we get yet another AP refresh boost from that. And as you can see down there, once our AP starts to refresh, it goes up very fast. It's a matter of like 3 seconds until we are back at full AP. The whole point here was basically to try and take down most mobs within a single VETS round, which, I mean, it's a bit of a stupid part of the video to talk about it because, yeah, with robots it doesn't work out as well as with other enemies for the simple reason that their weak spots are kind of hard to hit, and in addition to that, they are relatively tanky, do a lot of damage in the meantime, so I just hate to fight Gutsies. But you saw it work very well against things like Scorched or Ghouls, and those do definitely make up for a big part of the encounters you're having in the wasteland. So a lot of the time you're using this weapon, you can very efficiently use it in VATS. You just have to get into a little bit of a habit of, yeah, you have to use this weapon a bit differently than you would probably on a commando weapon, meaning that you just have to get used to using these little bursts. Oftentimes, it's just a more sensible option. I probably want to go for it with these ghouls here to go for the torso rather than headshots because, okay, there's the torso. And as you can see here, you can dispatch them quite quickly. The glowing one obviously is a bit of a different story here, but remember you can always use free aim. As I said, that's just basically just a means for us to, yeah, bring down ammo consumption. And that it's doing pretty well. We do have Gunfu active, however, you most of the time you won't really get a benefit from it. You're just not having the AP to kill two enemies most of the times. Will probably be a bit of a different story here with these rats. If they were in line, those kind of little critters and so on, yeah, those you can easily kill. And another thing, as I said, you can obviously just use free aim, which I tend to do on things like Scorched Beasts if they land. Thinking about Sheep Squatches. Sometimes the Deathclaws too, however, those feel kind of manageable with rats. And yeah, basically the whole character is a little bit of an all-rounder, and that means it's not particularly good in anything, but it is a solid base to move up on. Now, there are different approaches you could take from here on with this character, so I just played around for quite a bit until I was satisfied with the build I'm using here. The first approach I had in mind was actually using the high AP refresh from the armor and the perks combined in order to use dodgy very effectively, because you basically have infinite dodgy. Not exactly, but the fact that dodgy now only consumes your AP every 2 seconds, unless you're fighting some enemy with a shotgun. Those can still drain your AP really fast. Um, yeah, since that's the case, and we can basically regenerate a whole lot of AP in a matter of 2 seconds, we basically have infinite dodgy under most circumstances. So that was a little bit of an approach, and therefore I was not investing too much into luck, but rather um, use the effort, use the perk points in order to boost my survivability, meaning investing more into our defense perks. So instead of vets crits perks, our luck went into survivability perks. Then another approach was to use some more perks in endurance, bringing that up a little bit. And while I was enjoying it quite heavily, it basically defeated the whole purpose of the idea of using the LMG relatively effectively, because once you're using it primarily in free aim, you're back to using a bit more ammo. Now, since the weapon fires so fast, it's actually kind of hard to make out during a standard video session here, or during gameplay. Just by looking at it, it seems very similar, but judging by how often I had to craft new ammo, definitely this approach here feels very, very ammo efficient. As a little bit of a reference, when we started the video, we were somewhere around 3,000 shots. So by the time of me talking here, we burned through around 500 shots, which is actually very okay. By the way, we are using primed ammo. So we have primed the weapon for, first and foremost, obviously more damage, which is always nice. And another big benefit here is the LMG definitely is one of the weapons where, in my opinion, it's actually worth it to prime it. Simply because, yeah, the amount of 308 ammo that you get from crafting is nothing compared um, to the amount of Ultrasight 308. Just as a reference, I think with Ammo Smith rank 3, no, sorry, Ammo Smith rank 2, Ammo Factory rank 3, and Super Duper, I was crafting, I think it was around uh, 80 308 rounds, standard 308 rounds ago, and yeah, about 400 Ultrasight 308 rounds, with just the additional cost of basically one fluorescent flux, which is one of the more um, common ones anyways. So it's definitely manageable to do this build with prime ammo, in my opinion. Even more manageable than going for regular 308 armor. Another thing that's definitely noteworthy here is I touched upon it briefly earlier, talking about forming a habit of using this weapon. It really, this is the main driver for this build. I'm not quite sure how to say it actually, but this is the point you have to overcome. Getting into this build is a bit hard from a gameplay perspective. Now, admittedly, I'm not the best kind of FPS player and so on, so that might probably factor in here quite a bit. But once I really started to get this kind of rhythm going on of just having a feeling how long it takes until you can go for another burst that's actually useful, I'm still not 100% there, but once you have that figured out, the build becomes way more effective. Basically, it makes the whole experience a little bit of a rhythm kind of thing, where you really want to switch from cover to cover and use your little bursts in order to do damage. This one here is kind of surprising us, and to be honest, I wanted run away because while we are having fireproof, which seems to be a little bit bugged at the moment, um, I didn't bother to modify my chest piece with the dance modification. So I think this guy could have been a little bit of a danger, and I honestly didn't want to risk it to die here. That's why you saw me a bit spraying a bit of panic fire here. But in situations like these, it's actually not a bad idea to just go for free aim, since when you have 3 enemies clustered here, you can't really go wrong. Okay, we do have 2 more dogs here. I hate the exterior of West for the simple reason that this is one of the places where I get stuck all the time. Like, pretty much between every single fence I manage to get stuck. Pretty sure in my videos there were like 10 examples of it already or so. Well, anyways, I think we're done here. I mean, there's probably someone floating around as they are always, but in terms of gameplay, this was the gameplay part of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I actually was quite enjoying this build. It's neither the most tanky one nor the highest damage output one. However, if I say there's something the build is good at, it's definitely DPS. And I was quite enjoying it just because it really gives you a action-packed gameplay. Um, Something I just want to do every now and then. It's quite resource heavy in talking about stim packs. You just need him to stay alive. It's not something like you're super tanky or so. You're just tanky enough to survive with the help of stim packs every now and then. And in terms of ammo, as I said, you're running through quite a bit of it. So this is more of a fun treatment to yourself, in my opinion. Just something if you want to mess around a little bit. Probably not a build I would run with as a main character or the whole time, but every now and then, using it for a few hours could definitely be fun. The aesthetics here, I didn't want to risk too much. Pretty standard here. I just think that the LMG, I mean, I do know it's based up on the German LMG, but I think it has a bit of Vietnam vibes, so I wanted to go for something like military. I definitely wanted to have the military helmet here. The army helmet seemed quite appropriate, just fitted the weapon very well. And the Deathclaw-Hunter outfit, well, basically I just have it in my stash box for ages now and always wanted to use it. And overall, we're just going for kind of a militia wipe here. Nothing too crazy, pretty straightforward, but I think it works. Made my guy a little bit chubbier than usually, and overall worked out quite well in my opinion. So anyways, we're now going to take a look at our mutations, perks, and everything else. So stick with me if you're interested into that. And here we have it. We do have Bird Bones, Chameleon, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Herbivore, Marsupial, Speed Demon, and Unstable Isotope. So some of you may already know this, but on this character here, I do have Chameleon and Unstable Isotope, which just are here from an older build. Chameleon doesn't have any effect for us since we're wearing armor. It doesn't have any debuff though, so I didn't really bother removing it. And pretty much the same goes for Unstable Isotope. None of those really matter for our build, but they don't hurt us in any way, so they might as well be here. The important ones though are Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Herbivore, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. So Bird Bones, extra agility, obviously nice, giving us more action points to work with in bats. Pretty straightforward here. Eagle Eyes, since we're using bats quite heavily, extra perception is always nice to have, making sure that we get our hits in better, and more crit damage is also pretty good. Egghead is basically just there because we are not really strength or endurance focused. Now on this build it hurts a little bit more than it does on most characters I play with here on this character. Um, Meaning we're often playing with gunslingers or riflemen here, and those for those it doesn't really matter because we're already down to like 1 strength anyways or so, and same goes for endurance. On this occasion, yeah, strength would be a little bit more carry weight, endurance a few more hit points, so we're missing out on a little bit here, but the 6 intelligence were worth it in my opinion. We're not super intelligent, so the 6 intelligence help us middle it out a little bit. Keep in mind, we do have a debuff from Marsupial, so we take a little buff for intelligence. Long story short. Then we have Herbivore. Since we're using a VATS build here, Herbivore is never a bad decision, simply because you can get some very good buffs for your crits, talking about Blight Soup, or as I said, if you even want to push your AP refresh a little bit further, you can use some Corn Soup, for example. There are better options. Corn Soup is just very available, in my opinion, but I'm sure you're figuring out something very cool here if you want to. Obviously, though, not necessary. I didn't use any buffs of those kind in the video, so therefore, yeah, just an improvement if you want to use it. And then we have Marsupial, which is just a standard mutation. Extra carry weight is nice, but basically the jump height is the seller here. And lastly, we do have Speed Demon. Now, we will see in a minute. I didn't really bother to spec into reload speed, even though that could be a good idea. However, it was just 3 points of perk investment I didn't really bother with because I actually didn't feel like I was losing out on a lot of fighting abilities just by reloading. I didn't even reload all that often, in my opinion. I always find some kind of a um, situation where I can reload, and oftentimes I just want to wait for my AP to refresh anyways, and those 3 to 4 seconds are perfect to just reload in the meantime. And yeah, I still wanted to have Speed Demon though, for obvious reasons. A bit more reload speed for basically no downside here is okay. The extra movement speed is also nice, and on this occasion, the downside of Speed Demon actually hurts us a little bit, simply because we want to stay well hydrated all of the time to yet again get a little bit more AP refresh going on. Basically, you see the theme here. AP refresh is everything for this build. It's built completely around that, and yeah, having your thirst go down or go up faster is definitely a downside, but on the other side, I didn't really feel like, especially thirst is something you can easily keep under control for the simple reason that you don't have to switch between various food items or anything. You just always chug purified water, and you can have an abundance of that. Anyways, long story short, we're now going to take a look at the items. Here it is. It's an anti-armor explosive LMG. It's a 2-star. Less VATS cost hands down would be the one I would like to have as a third effect if I could choose here, but this is what I was going for. I also had an anti-armor past the fire rate version, which I do quite enjoy. The downside though is it makes it even harder to manage your AP because, yeah, obvious reasons. So I rather wanted to have a bit more damage per bullet and a bit slower fire rate, even though it's not really a noticeable thing here. Anyways, anti-armor explosive LMG. I don't have to talk a lot about it. We have a prime receiver on it, as I said during the video. Um, yeah, I already explained that. Bit more damage and easier to craft ammo, in my opinion at least. Obviously, if you don't have access to any flux, you want to go with the standard version. Rest of the modifications are pre-made on this thing. You can't change a whole lot here, except for, as I said, the prime receiver. So you basically have to live with that. I would definitely love to have the option of a reflex sight to just bring down the AP cost a little bit. Same goes for a magazine, maybe. Stock, yeah, obviously. Having access to modifications would be nice. And yeah, having a less VATS cost version here, I just fooled around with a Ghoul Slayer's explosive less VATS cost version that I found in a vendor for cheap, and it makes a huge difference. 25% less damage, less AP cost doesn't sound like a lot, but really improves this build a whole lot. Now, onto the armor, bit more interesting on this occasion. We do have a Vanguard's AP refresh heavy combat left arm, one Vanguard AP refresh heavy combat chest piece, one Vanguard AP refresh right arm. This one is a sturdy one though, the only one. The rest is heavy. We have harder to detect while sneaking. Well, we're not using that anyways. And then we have a weightless AP refresh piece and a weightless 1-star piece. So as you noticed here, we have 4 pieces with AP refresh. Obviously, I would love to have another one. Basically, 3 is the goal you would probably want to aim for. That's the amount of AP refresh pieces that matter the most. You do get more benefits for a 4th and a 5th version, but yeah, talk about kind of diminishing returns here. More than 3 pieces do benefit you, but the benefit gets decreasingly low. So I hope that made sense and isn't double dipping or double negative or anything. Not quite sure here. All of them intact. I really thought that probably one of the limbs would break during the video, but yeah, doesn't really matter here. Um, Shielded road letters, by the way, just to give us a bit more perception and agility. Really nice and helpful here. Um, yeah, just a bit more action points for VATS and perception, obviously. So, natural fit. I don't think anything is better here in terms of under armor. And now let's take a look at our perks. As you can see there, we're trying to be relatively high in a lot of places, so this is basically one of the most streamlined characters I probably put together. But we're also using a lot of legendary perks to uh, give us more perks overall. And I think it turned out very well, even though on first sight it looks like a lot of compromise, which there is. So for strength, we do have Master Heavy Gunner and Expert Heavy Gunner, as well as Standard Heavy Gunner at rank 2. So one thing you can see here is I do have Traveling Pharmacy. I just carry around a lot of Stimpaks. I found it convenient to use here. Obviously, this would be something you could live without if you can maybe you have the chemist backpack, so that would make the traveling pharmacy perk redundant, and you have room for lock and load rank 3. Bandolier could be a nice option, even though I found that, yeah, the ammo problem wasn't all that great here, so I could live without Bandolier. You could also just go up with all the heavy gunner perks to rank 3. I'm sure you'll find something here, so there's that. I thought that rank 2 of all the heavy gunner perks gave me a lot of, or gave me enough damage output here. Then we have perception. Okay, guys, we're back. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. We were thrown off the server for a second, and I mean, I'm gonna cut that out, so it's not gonna be a whole lot of a problem for you. But I just joined back immediately. Had to leave the server again, and then when I was joining back again, Rose had her little chit chat when I started the game because yeah, she always wants to talk to me because I didn't finish her quest. And long story short, we're going to go back in here. We're looking at perception here, which is filled with exterminators, concentrated fire, and glow sight. So perception was kind of bittersweet for me because we wanted to have relatively high perception just to get a good bets hit chance going on. But on the same hand, there's not a lot of perks that really benefit you if you're using a heavy gun. So yeah, what I went for here is rank 3 of concentrated fire, which if there were better options, I would have gone for rank 1. Obviously, rank 1 is essential. You want to be able to target the weak spots. But going for rank 3 is oftentimes a waste of a perk point or two, because on automatic weapons, it doesn't increase your accuracy per shot all that much. So, anyways, we wanted to have some perception going on, and I went for it. And same goes for exterminators and glow sight. Now, exterminator quite easily helps you against things like red scorpions, for example. Not the toughest targets, but they can bring you down relatively quickly. I'm aware, by the way, that they are not insects, but Bethesda isn't, it seems. I can understand why you do it, though. And, well, glow sight, this is arguably even a bit more interesting. There's a lot of glowing enemies here. Not something I would definitely fear. Not that you think that, yeah, all glowing enemies are so dangerous or anything, but it's definitely nice to have them. There are some events, talk about Uranium Fever, for example, where basically half of your enemies are glowing, so you can take them down really fast. Anyways, moving on to endurance here. We do have adamantium skeleton and fireproof. These are pretty much essential in my opinion. Being crippled is a chore, and you're always going to be shot. And fireproof, you're using explosive rounds yourself, so not damaging yourself all that much is a nice thing to have. And yeah, pretty straightforward here. Then you can see we went for Cola Nut rank 2, so just in case I really am in a tough situation where I'm getting overwhelmed, I can just chuck a Nuka-Cola Quantum or a few Nuka Cherries or anything. I didn't really bother with it during the video, but you know, not using consumables all that much during the videos. And yeah, therefore, you can get increased benefits. Now, as you are probably better in math than I am, you can see that we are at 8 perk points spent here rather than 9. Um, The thing is, you just have to find something for you here, and I didn't really have an option. Um, the thing is, I basically just wanted to get endurance up a little bit in order to get more hit points going on, and then after fine-tuning the build a little bit, I had this one perk to spend. So what you could do definitely is go down to endurance 8 and move it to agility, but I'm sure you'll find something here. Then we go to charisma, where we do have Lone Wanderer and Tenderizer. Now Tenderizer, very obvious pick here. We have a high fire rate weapon, and Tenderizer is 10% multiplicative damage bonus, so one of the most powerful perk sprays practically in this here build. And Lone Wanderer, um, on this occasion, really both of the benefits are great for us. Less damage, 20% less damage, that's great. And more importantly, 30% AP regen. As I said it about 50 times now, AP regen is the centerpiece of this build. Without a, without a lot of AP refresh, you're not going to have a pleasant time. It's basically the limiting factor here. Then we move on to intelligence, which is at 8. We use it for rank 3 of first aid. I know a lot of people don't really want to use it because they think stimpaks are quite plentiful, which I actually agree with. On the other hand, it's just the convenience of not having to use multiple ones during a fight, but if I see I'm getting overwhelmed a little bit, I just chuck 2 or something, and I'm at least safe for the near future. For the next 20-30 seconds, I can just use those 2 stimpaks to stay alive and kill some enemies in the meantime. Pretty straightforward here. Demo expert, well, another obvious thing here. I just have an explosive weapon, so I'm boosting my damage here. You could go for gunsmith, however, I think the weapon's condition is really great, so you can go for a long time without having to repair it. If you do so, it's not super expensive to repair, so overall I would definitely go for Demo Expert here. After all, it's just a little bit of a damage boost, and gives you the option to just carry something around like a missile launcher if you want to bother with it, um, grenade launcher or something, so you can just use grenades if you used to. Do whatever you like here. Basically, the factor here is using a weapon with explosive bullets. Therefore, we wanted to get a little bit more damage with it. Now we're getting into agility with Action Boy at rank 3, Gunfu rank 2, White Knight, and Adrenaline. So very obviously, Adrenaline is there just to boost our damage. Quite straightforward. White Knight, I find it convenient because yeah, as I said with Adamantium Skeleton, we're always in a fighting situation. We're always getting shot and bitten at. So yeah, not having to repair your armor every 20 minutes or so is just convenience for me, and if you do, it's just cheaper. So I went with White Knight. Action Boy rank 3, very straightforward, more AP refresh, I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. And Gunfu at rank 2, I just wanted to have a bit of agility going on. What I would do actually nowadays, now that I have the perk point here, I would go for rank 1 of Gunfu and rank 1 of Born Survivor. That would be a pretty sensible option in my opinion. Rank 1 of Gunfu I would still keep because sometimes when you're fighting ghouls and get lucky with Grim Reaper Sprint, you can really chain up some nice kills, which is a very satisfying situation, but it's nothing to count on. Um, your AP cost per kill is just too high to really expect that behavior all of the time. You really have to get a little bit lucky, but it happens every now and then it's very satisfying. So I would at least keep rank 1 of Gunfu. But as I said, yeah, go for rank 1 of Spawn Survivor if you're not having a Autostim armor piece, and you're fine as well. And lastly, we do have luck here. We do have rank 3 of Bloody Mess, rank 3 of Grim Reaper Sprint, rank 3 of Better Criticals, rank 2 of Star Sheens, and Critical Savvy. So Critical Savvy and Better Criticals, every third shot does a crit. About, I didn't really count, but should be about this one. Like, yeah, as I said, every third hit should be a crit, um, doing more damage. So this combination is very standard if you're using vets, so that shouldn't surprise anyone. Same goes for Grim Reaper Sprint. Um, Basically a must-have perk in my opinion if you're using vets, unless you maybe have a Bloodied Self commando where I sometimes dish it out because you're just having such a high amount of action points that you're not running out of them anyways. But yeah. regardless, very important perk here, often saves our ass. And lastly, I went for Bloody Mess. I just wanted to have some luck going on. Now, one thing you could certainly do is dish out Bloody Mass because it doesn't do a whole lot. It's just a little bit more damage. What you could certainly do here is go for Class Freak, would be a nice addition here. Another idea would be to go for Ricochet, just to boost the survivability a little bit. Or actually, what you could do is use One Gun Army. Um, it's really easy to target specific limbs. We're actually built for that, basically. So that would probably have helped us a lot with fighting the Scorched Beast. So if you're a bit impatient and want to force them to land, that would have been a nice option. But overall, I just went for Bloody Mass. As you can see there, I don't have a lot of options and would have had to use some level ups. And after all, these 3 perk points that we're using here, they hardly make or break the build. This is just a little bit of flavor you can add to the build, and I went for the quite boring option of just giving it a little bit more damage, so that's about it. And then we're going to take a look at our legendary perks. This section here is relatively boring because, as you can see, we have agility, perception, luck, intelligence, and strength boosted by our legendary perks, so not a lot to talk about here, they just give us extra options. And as you can see, this build relies quite heavily on extra perk points, and I really think it wouldn't work out all that well if you don't have access to them. So it's definitely one of kind of a build that I would only try if I'm at a higher level and have access to such kind of perks. Now, having one rank of each would probably be enough. You can make some sacrifices here and there, but overall, yeah, you want to have access to a lot of legendary perks. And the last one I'm using here is What Rats, which is just a convenience. Obviously, if you build yourself for being in a team, you can definitely do that and go for, sorry, how's it called? Taking one for the team for an extra damage boost in a lot of situations. But this really is a build that works better in solo for the simple reason that you get yet another 30% AP refresh from Lone Wanderer. And yeah, living without that really makes your time a lot tougher. And well, that was it. Bit all over the place, I know, but I think the whole build actually turned out to be a lot of fun. Was a nice experience for me. And yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. And now I'm going to, yeah, cut the video.